So let's give a quick revision to Act 3, Scene 1 of The Merchant of Venice. Scene by scene, we are going to talk about all important things that you need to prepare while preparing for your exam. Act 3, Scene 1, in this scene, the plot begins to develop towards a crisis. And what crisis is there? There are rumors about Antonio's shipwreck, all right? And we as readers come to know about this shipwreck through Salanio and Salarino. We know that these two are friends of Antonio and they are discussing between each other this rumor. But till now, there is no conformity, there is no surety about this news. And at that point only, Sherlock comes over there, and these two people they start talking to Sherlock. And while talking to Sherlock, they try to know his mind that if it is Antonio's ship and if Antonio is not able to pay his debt, so in what way is Shylock going to behave? Because it is very difficult for anybody to believe that Shylock may ask for the penalty and the penalty is 1 pound of Antonio's flesh. Of course, the penalty is very awkward. At the same time, it is difficult for anybody to believe. Why? Because what would he do with that human flesh? But then in this scene only, for the very first time, we come to know about the clear intentions of Shylock that in no way he is going to leave his penalty. So, from this scene only, we come to know that Shylock is looking for revenge. He says that if the flesh serves no other purpose, he will use it to bait fish with it. All right. If it will feed nothing else, it will feed his revenge. This is what he says. Okay, later on, enter Tubal. Tubal is another person, Shylock's friend, you can say, one of his tribe. And Shylock assigned Tubal the task to find Jessica. And Tubal had been to different places, but he could not find Jessica. Because of that, Shylock gets very irritated also. He said, too much of money she has taken, and too much of money is spent on finding her. Now, at that time, Tubal informs him about Antonio's shipwreck or Antonio's loss, which makes Shylock really happy. He's elated, as soon as he comes to know about Antonio's shipwreck, because now he sees an opportunity to take his revenge. And he even goes to an extent to hire a lawyer 15 days before. There are still 15 days for the bond to get expired, but he wants to hire a lawyer. Why? Because he sees an opportunity and somehow he can predict that if he meets such losses, he will not be able to pay his money back. So the first scene takes place in Venice, of course, another scene takes place in Belmont, and this scene finally brings the casket story to its climax. Why? Because ultimately the right casket has been chosen by the right candidate. Why are we calling Bassanio the right candidate? Because he is the one whom Portia wanted to marry. She loved him and she actually wanted to marry him. And that's why she is extremely happy when she sees that Bassanio has chosen the right casket. Now, before in this scene, we come to know that Bassanio is there. He is ready to make his choice, but Portia wants him to stay there for some time because she wants to spend some time with him. This clearly indicates that she has fallen for him. This clearly indicates that she loves him and she doesn't want to lose him. But because things are not in her hands, as her fate completely depends on that lottery of caskets, that is why she is a bit apprehensive that there is a possibility that Bassanio does not choose the right casket. And for that, she, somehow requests him to stay for some time. But Bassanio is not ready for that because Bassanio already, we know that Bassanio has taken a loan from Shylock on behalf of Antonio, and that's why he doesn't want to lose any time. He just wants to make sure whether he wins her or loses her, and accordingly, he has to hurry to go to Venice also. But that's why he is not ready. And somehow, after that, we come to know about the lottery, how he makes his choice. Why does he choose this leaden casket? Because he completely believes that outward appearances do not matter. All right. So for that, he gives different examples also in his speech. First of all, he gives the example of a priest who approves a sin with the help of the holy text. Holy text is Bible. Then he gives the example of a lawyer however wrong his defendant is, but he always tries to defend him by giving arguments. All right. Then he compares that there are many cowards who are seen keeping the beards like that of Hercules and Mars. Then he gives the example of beauty, that there are many women who seem to be very beautiful, but that beauty is bought, that is purchased by weight. He's talking about cosmetics, even the golden hair. He talks about the wigs that women used to have, those days. So that's why he gives many examples to prove that outward appearances are always deceptive. So one should not trust them. All right. One should not take any decision based on outward appearances. And then, of course, for silver also, he calls silver as a pale common drudge between men and men. All right. So that's why he doesn't like it. And yes, for lead, he says that though lead is threatening, the inscription which was written on the leaden casket was threatening, but he says that his dullness moves him better than any eloquence, any brightness, any shine. Okay, and for that reason, he chooses leaden casket. As soon as he opens the casket, he sees Portia's counterfeit. Counterfeit is the picture, and then he compares the picture to the reality, and he says that the artist must be some kind of demigod, that he has created the picture exactly like the original one. After that, of course, we come to know what is written in the scroll of the leaden casket. So in there it is clearly mentioned that he has got Portia as his wife, but still he asks for her confirmation. Portia also gives a long speech where she is expressing her elation, where she is expressing her joy, and at the same time she even declares that from now onwards he is going to be her master. And then of course Bassanio is also very happy. There is the discovery of love between Nerissa and Gratiano. They also declare their love, and there was a kind of condition which Nerissa had put to Gratiano, that if Bassanio is able to win Portia as his wife, only then she'll be marrying him. All right. Now Gratiano looks for this opportunity. He discloses it to Bassanio and Portia. They both are really happy, and they even say that okay, you can get married with us only. At that time only, from Venice, they get some friends, Lorenzo, Jessica, and Celerio. These three enter the scene, and Bassanio is very happy. But after that, they come to know that actually Celerio was coming over there with Antonio's letter. And on his way, he met Lorenzo and Jessica, and he asked them also to accompany him. That's why they all were there. And then he hands over a letter of Antonio in which it is clearly mentioned that Antonio is in a very miserable condition because he has not been able to pay Shylock's due, Shylock's bond. And that's why Shylock has asked for the penalty. Many people have tried to convince him, and he wants that pound of flesh. Bassanio becomes extremely worried, and then Portia helps him, and she tells him that he should leave for Venice to save his friend, and he may take as much money as he wants, but he should make sure that Antonio is delivered, Antonio is saved from clutches of Shylock. All right. So this was all about Act 3, Scene 2. It is a very important scene, children. You have to do it very thoroughly, right? Then Act 3, Scene 3, it's a brief, very brief scene. We find that Antonio is in custody and he tries to talk to Shylock, but Shylock is not ready to listen to Antonio. Then Act 3, Scene 4, of course, the theme of loyalty to friends, disguise and deceit form the subjects of this scene. Here we see that Portia finds a plan to rescue Antonio. And for that, she requests Lorenzo and Jessica to supervise her household in her absence. And she tells a lie. She says that she is going to pray. And she's taking Nerissa also along with her because they both want to pray for the well being of their husbands. And on the other hand, she calls her servant Balthazar and she asks him to go to Padua, where her cousin Dr. Bellario is there. And she asks him to hand over a letter, and whatever notes and garments Dr. Bellario give after that, he should bring them to Venice because she'll meet him there. and he should hand those to uh, her. Now, from this, we clearly come to know that Portia is having some sort of intention, and what her intention are, she discloses it to Nerissa. She says that she'll be going to Venice, and there she'll be fighting for Antonio. She'll try to save him in disguise of a doctor of law. All right, and Nerissa will act as her clerk. Okay, so that is so. Act 3, Scene 4 gives us a clear idea, the plan which Portia has conceived to save Antonio. Okay, then Act 3, Scene 5. This scene, of course, it begins with a humorous dialogue from Launcelot. Launcelot and Jessica, somehow they are having some kind of argument where Launcelot blames Lorenzo for increasing the population of Christians, and Jessica gets very annoyed with that. And later on, of course, Lorenzo and Launcelot again, they have a kind of conversation. So, see, there is no relevance of this scene in the development of the plot of this story, but somehow this scene is a kind of interval, it's a kind of relief that has been provided by Shakespeare to his readers, because after this, there's going to be a very tense scene, that is the trial scene. Okay.